Today we have Mr. Urban Fjellestad, who is from Ericsson, and he's with us today for our IPTSE podcast series. Mr. Urban has been a part of the Ericsson team for over 23 years, and he currently serves as the Vice President for IPR and Licensing, Marketing and Communication. He is also a part of the leadership team of the business unit and the global marketing and communication team. Mr. Urban holds a Master's of Science in Business Administration and International Economics from Uppsala University, Sweden. He has a certification in Political Science and Government from the Institut Études Politiques de Paris. He has also done executive programs in brand management from London Business School and strategic business marketing from Kellogg School of Management, Illinois, USA. Mr. Urban's main areas of competence and interest have been marketing and communication strategy, planning and activation, global brand strategy and activation, and global management. Welcome, Urban, to the IPTSE podcast series, and thank you for accepting this invite.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so to begin with, from the profile that we just read out of yours, your professional journey seems very impressive, and it will be great for our viewers if you could let us know your transition in various titles and the job roles.
Sure. Let me try to do that. I mean, obviously, I've been with Ericsson for a long time. It's coming up on 24 years. So the benefit of a large company like Ericsson is that you get to do a number of different things, and you can move around both geographically and in different job roles, and while hopefully also, you know, climbing in terms of your career. But I think with my background and the studies, you know, my education, which is about marketing and economics, it was clear for me that's the area where I wanted to go. However, I did actually start out in product management in Ericsson, which in hindsight was very good because I got some good insights into, let's say, the core of Ericsson around products and technology. Ericsson wasn't the first place I worked, but I was in telecoms before that. But then also in terms working a lot with brand communications and so on. So having a little bit of technology background or understanding is very important in a company like Ericsson. Just like, as we'll come on to later, a bit of understanding of intellectual property can also, you know, that goes a long way in various roles in a large company full of sort of innovation and like Ericsson is. So I've done a lot of different things. I have worked, let's say, mainly in the marketing and communications space. A lot to do with branding, brand communication. Was responsible for Ericsson's global brand campaigns and the development of Ericsson's visual identity and let's say brand communication assets. So that is something which where I had also some interaction with the legal profession in Ericsson, the trademarks, the team looking after trademarks and IP related assets of Ericsson. Before then, about 6 or 7 years ago, ending up joining the IPR licensing team. So now fully, of course, working with intellectual property
yes,
since then.
Okay, So was it by choice, if I may ask, or you just chose to go and take up the IPR thing?
No, it was entirely by choice, definitely, for various reasons, I guess. One is I had some interaction with the team beforehand and was very impressed with the people that they had met. It was and is a very, very strong team within Ericsson working with intellectual property and licensing. So that was one thing that of course attracted me. I think also my previous interaction with the IP side made me interested in getting deeper into it. I had seen quite a bit from, let's say, the brand trademark type side, but looking at it as I do now, more from the innovation side of it, patents and so on, that was very interesting to me. And actually another major reason was my big interest and background also from my university days into politics, international relations. IPR is an area where policy
Yes, policy making.
is a big thing, right? So this allows me to definitely engage in these policy discussions, trying to get Ericsson's perspective on IPR policy out to the right audiences, and that's something that I thought was going to be interesting when I tried to join, and has turned out to be very, very, very interesting for sure.
Great. Okay. So your role at Ericsson, as you said, is as the head of communications and marketing, which covers IPRs. What has been the focus areas, and do you really actually internally align with various other teams that are there? I mean, the branding and the communication and the other teams. How is your alignment with them?
Yeah.
How does it intermingle, if I may ask? Yeah.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I mean, you can, there are a lot of different, let's say, you can call them challenges or interesting areas here that coexist. So I think in terms of the alignment and cooperation with different parts of Ericsson, that's always something that's very important. We do. So me and my team work very closely with the advocacy team that we have, the IPR policy team. We are, let's say, working really hand in hand in terms of getting our perspective out, as I was saying earlier, making sure our audience, let's say, try to get them to understand our viewpoint. So that's our, let's say, most important. That's my most important collaboration internally. But then, of course, working closely with, for example, inventors, the people that actually develop technology, invent technology that can then be patented and protected with IPRs. That's a very important cooperation as well. And then outside of that field, which is close to IPR, of course, I do have a lot to do in terms of aligning with other parts of the marketing and communications area. That's we always want Ericsson's marketing and communication to be aligned between the different parts of Ericsson. So that's a key thing as well to do in that global marketing and communications leadership team. making sure Ericsson speaks with one voice, etc. And also coming back to, you know, previous experiences I have with Ericsson's visual identity, way of expressing ourselves, tone of voice, and so on. That's another type of IP, which is super important in marketing and communications, making sure that we, you know, get the most out of the marketing activities or the communications we do by speaking in one voice, aligning ourselves, giving the same.
Yes, as a brand,
through the branding, the visual language, and so on. Yes.
Right. Okay. Now I'm sure you are also involved in dealing with the researchers and engineers at Ericsson, right? And how does it help you in executing your work? I mean, are you in any ways involved in helping them develop patents or working closely for licensing, etc.? Are you involved in that?
So no, I actually leave the development of patents. I leave to smarter people than myself. That is the inventors from, for example, Ericsson Research or other parts of Ericsson, where the engineers, the core of Ericsson, where they sit. And then we have, of course, the patent engineers and the patent lawyers within IPR and licensing. So these are people that I work closely with, not in helping them develop patents, but in helping them maybe convey, for example, you know, we aside from developing the patents, it's when we come to the licensing side, for example, it's all about conveying the strength of our patent portfolio, for example, to external audiences, be they, you know, potential licensees or policymakers. So that is an area where me and my team come in to. This is a complex area, right? There's a lot of legal things, and the technology itself is very complex. So trying to work on storytelling and making sure that we can convey these things, depending on the audience for a particular maybe activity or point in time. We want to try to make sure the audience understands. So the messages are sometimes short, sometimes longer, and can, you know, vary in terms of complexity depending on the audience. But that's where we, from the communication side, come in to try to help there for sure.
Right. Okay. Now, I'm sure Ericsson is full of this culture of innovation. I mean, there's innovation all throughout the company. And I guess there are some inventors awards that you give away, right? So could you just elaborate as to what these inventors awards are and what is the process, or what are any other initiatives, such similar initiatives at Ericsson that are done for the innovators?
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is something we spend quite a bit of time and efforts on, encouraging innovation, of course, because as you say, innovation is at the heart of Ericsson and who we are. So encouraging inventors, the researchers behind the technology, that's something that's very important for Ericsson as a whole, but certainly also for IPR and licensing, the unit I belong to, because they are behind the technology that we patent and can then license. So clearly, this is something we spend time on, both by, for example, having the Ericsson Inventor of the Year award. So this is a yearly award that is given out to. Usually, we try to pick 3 winners every year. I mean, we have thousands of fantastic engineers to choose from, and there are always. It's a totally internal process where people suggest, to the jury, suggest different people for this. So it can be teams as well, but normally they are individual winners.
Individuals, okay.
So this is an award handed out then once a year, and we also it's a very, I think, not wanting to speak for the engineers, but it seems to be a very, let's say, prestigious award to be given internally,
Sure. Yes.
And we also then try to, we celebrate the winners. We produce videos about them, which we then promote externally and internally, and in social media channels and so on. So there's a lot of that going on, encouraging then others around the winners to, hey, next year I'm going to try
next year
to be the winner,
it's your
right?
turn. Yeah. Sure.
That's clear. But we also, aside from that award, we do also do other types of communications activities, interviewing inventors, making little videos with them. This can be something we use in our global communications, like the Inventor of the Year awards, but it can also be for India specifically, or for Brazil specifically, where we, for example, have made an effort to highlight women inventors in particular, which we find is there are absolutely a lot of women inventors, but still fewer than male inventors. So we really want to highlight some of those, for example, which we've done then in various countries. And that whole diversity of backgrounds for Ericsson inventors is important, and something we want to celebrate and promote. It's a way to encourage our own employees, but it's also talent. Let's say
recognition of the talent. Yes.
Yeah,
and I'm sure
exactly.
it's a learning process for the others as well, because when you come up with these videos from the inventors as to what they have done, what is their invention, I'm sure it's a learning process for the others as well in the company and outside.
Exactly. Yeah. And we have many Indians working in Ericsson. Some of them are based in India, obviously, quite a few of them based in India, but some are also based in Sweden or the US, and they are a lot of the inventions, a lot of the engineers are of Indian background, and several of them have won the Inventor of the Year award also, and other are part of teams that are very successful in terms of developing the technology that's part of Ericsson's success, and that's just mentioning diversity of background. We really want to make sure that the Brazilians, the Indians, the Chinese, the Americans, the Swedes, that we're a global company, and for people also externally understanding how global we are is something that's important.
So it's globalization in the true sense, I must say.
Yeah.
Recognizing other nationals as well. That's a big thing, I'm sure.
Indeed. Yeah.
Okay. So, what would be your recommendation to the young generation towards exploring the IPR field? Do you really would want them to take up this field from a very early age, or do you think is it okay if they come and take it up at a professional once they have started their career already? How would you recommend?
I mean, I'll be frank. Of course, what you learn, what you start, let's say, being interested in and learning as a young person, or in your earlier school years, that's generally areas where you learn most, and you have it with you for life, right? This can be languages, or this can be sports, or this can be other skills such as an understanding of an area like intellectual property. So that's, I think, also one reason why we are very supportive of the IPTSE initiative, because the earlier you can get into an area, I think the more valuable for you as a person. Having said that, just looking at myself, I was not really aware of or thinking about intellectual property, in school so much. I was quite interested in working with brands and trademarks and so, but I maybe didn't quite think of the IP angle as much of it as a marketing
Yeah,
tool.
but they're interlinked, obviously, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but also, which means that also, later in life or as part of your professional career, getting into the IP area, I think it adds a lot to one's ability to look at things from different perspectives, and then, add a lot of value in discussions from those different perspectives. So yeah, I very much encourage people, that also those who have not maybe started to think about IP in their younger years, it's never too late to engage with the area and get that knowledge, even if you're not, a lawyer or something like that. There is so much in here which is worth understanding, so that you have the right perspectives, you can make the right decisions for your own company, if you have a startup or something like that, or if you are in a big company like I am. And it gives you various opportunities also with your career and so on. So yeah, that's how I view it.
Great. So I'm sure the viewers who are watching would now be inclined to at least look into the IPR field as a option for their career as well. So that has been a very insightful talk about the intermingling of your marketing, communication, and IP. And I'm sure the audience would love to know that it is not just IP is not a sole thing which you look at it or seclude it from other aspects of the industry. It is very much intermingled with the other domains as well. So I'm sure our audience, target audience, mainly being the students, right? They would be happy to know about this, and they would look at IP as a career option. And if not at an early age, I'm sure through their career, they might come up with IP as a career. Thank you, Urban, for again accepting this invite for the podcast. And we loved to have these insights from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.